G'day there guys, me and my dog want to say hello, hope you're having a very good day today. I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn of the Barbie, and get ready for some r/AmITheA content. Let's go. Posted by user, AmITheA roommate situ. Titled, Am I the a-hole for moving in a roommate without my wife being involved? My wife and I have an apartment together. Before this year, we could have maintained it alone, but now with her being out of work for almost a full year, we need a roommate. We had one, but she moved out in November, and we've been scraping our savings ever since. We desperately needed a new roommate. They would have their own bathroom, and it's plenty of space, so we decided to start a search for a roommate. My wife insisted that she's only okay with a female roommate because she doesn't want to live with strange men, and I understood her concerns. Despite saying women only in our posts about it, almost exclusively men applied. We complained about it to some of our friends, and they think that we're in the wrong. They said that we were being sexist because we weren't willing to consider a male roommate, especially when there's already both a man and a woman living in the house, and that even if we got what we wanted, we'd be asking another woman to live with a strange man, so it wouldn't be any different. I started to consider if we were in the wrong and just old-fashioned for only wanting a specific gender of roommate. She refused, but time was ticking. On a practical side, we really needed to get someone in there soon. So I picked someone, ran a background check, and moved him in while my wife was visiting her sister for a weekend. I shouldn't have just ignored her, but it was crunch time. He passed the background check, and he's perfectly nice. When she came home, she was not willing to just talk about it or to either of us. She's furious at me, and for the past week, she's only spoken to scream at me and threaten to evict our new roommate, after all of 1 week. I never want problems with my wife, but she needs to acknowledge that we were out of options. Am I the a-hole? This is your wife, and you know her better than all of us, and I think you know that if you pushed this decision, this would piss her off. You can't just come to internet strangers and ask, well, I know what she's like, but do you think that I did the right thing here because I think I did? I think you know deep down that what you did was the wrong thing. Yes, you were at crunch time here, but that isn't an excuse to move someone in that's a male when she didn't get a say in this, and she didn't want a male. Yes, this helps out your financial situation, but it just deteriorates your relationship with your wife in every other way. And if your goal is to have your wife divorce you, or just not want to be with you anymore, then I think you're on your way to achieving that one. You did wrong here, you need to fix this. You're the a-hole. Now in the comments, Minbavikaziv1052 says, you're the a-hole. This was a huge violation of boundaries. I'm willing to guess there are a myriad of reasons that your wife didn't want to live with another man in the house that had nothing to do with sexism. I wouldn't be surprised if your wife found another place to live where she felt more protected and in more control of her own living environment. I mean, honestly, even if you had moved in any gender of person, it would still be really unsettling to come home to a stranger in my own home who is there to stay permanently. Nice to meet you. I guess I'll be seeing you forever. Also, double you're the a-hole for intentionally sneaking behind your wife's back and doing this while she wasn't home and without telling her. This means you knew it was wrong the entire time and you still did it anyway. Hijacking the top comment to point out that OP is also being a massive a-hole to the new roommate. I'm gonna go out on a limb and assume that he didn't tell the guy that he was being moved in secret because the other occupant specifically didn't want him there. So now he's stuck in a living situation where one of his roommates is openly hostile to his presence. Good point. Now he's in the middle of a marital dispute. How desperately uncomfortable. And at risk for being evicted through no fault of his own. You're the a-hole. Consider that every single one of these dudes who steamrolled past your female applicants only please request is already demonstrating that they're already not good at being told no. You really think that's helpful in persuading your wife that everything will work out just fine with this guy? or for that matter, a quality you want in a roommate. Also, you say you're out of options, like ditching this apartment you can't afford on your own isn't an option. Why wasn't that on the table well before you decided that you needed to overrule her and her concerns? I agree, but also I'm not surprised no women applied. Speaking as a young woman, if I saw an advertisement for housing with a couple, not WLW, not one woman, or a group of them, but a married heterosexual couple, and it said women only please with no context, I would assume they had nefarious intentions immediately. My mind would immediately go to, these people are unicorn hunters. Yup. I'm a lesbian, and the amount of women who revealed they were actually married and in a het relationship after a few days of chatting was ridiculous. Like, I like women, I don't want to sleep with you and your husband. You also get the rare, my husband has a fetish for impregnating lesbians DM. Oh, that's another thing I didn't know existed. You're the a-hole. This was such an a-hole move, I literally can't see any way your relationship can recover. Absolutely. There are so many red flags here from both a character and a relationship perspective. I feel worse for the wife, but can you imagine being the new roommate and realizing there's a nuclear countdown going on with your roommates? Yeah, the more I think about it, the more I wonder exactly what OP said, read, lied about, to convince the new roommate it'd be fine for him to move out without meeting half the household first. Or did this guy not find it the slightest bit weird and or concerning the wife wasn't involved in the process, which does not bode well for all the issues a background check wouldn't necessarily cover. And I guess that's assuming he knew there was a wife. Our next post is by user Responsible Stepdad, titled, Am I the a-hole for not paying anything anymore for my stepdaughter? So my stepdaughter, 14, who we'll call A, doesn't like me because she thinks her real dad is better, but he doesn't do anything to help. All he does is do crack and use his girlfriends for money. A believes her dad buys all the things that she gets. Her birthday presents, toys, clothes, and gadgets are all from me or her mum, but she honestly believes he gets them for her. She isn't just rude to me, she's rude to everyone. Like her mum or neighbor, or just people that bump into her. My wife has tried counseling and therapy, but it's only effective for a couple of days before she snaps. I haven't grounded her or anything, I leave the punishing to her mum, but she still can't behave. Recently, her birthday came up and I brought her a phone that she had been wanting, and she called her dad and thanked him while still being rude to me. I honestly am at my limit. I can't take this disrespect anymore. I know she's just a child, but it still gets to me. I told my wife I won't be paying for anything she needs or wants anymore. I'm not going to tolerate disrespect while still being financially responsible for her. My wife is saying I'm insensitive and an a-hole, but I completely disagree. Am I the a-hole? Edit 1. I will talk to her and stop paying for her items unless she needs them. I will also take her to therapy again and try to be more patient. I will update if anything happens. Look, I understand that you're frustrated, and that frustration is understandable. But I do think you have to be patient with this one and get her back to therapy if you believe that's what she needs. It's unfortunate she's idolizing such a deadbeat crack addict father who's not providing for her and obviously doesn't actually care about her. I think her idolization of her father comes from a fantasy about how she wished that he cared about her and she hoped it could be better in the future. I feel like in these situations, it's very common that kids lash out against the stable parent because you're still going to be there, but they're going to cling to the parent whose love they have to earn, like this deadbeat crack addict father's. It feels like things are going to get worse before they get better, and you really have to be patient with this. I think it would be beneficial that you cut off all support for non-essentials in her life, and let her live and understand that he's not doing anything for her. Absolutely keep supporting her for her essentials that she needs, school, money, clothes, medications, dental, whatever else. Those you need to live, that would be child abuse not to do that, but paying for her McDonald's on the weekend, paying for new phones, she doesn't need any of that. It's your decision how you go about these ones in the future, but I support your decision to cut off those financials. So I'm going to go with not the a-hole. Now in the comments, I Love Markee says, not the a-hole. Why does she think her father is the one buying things? Is her mum lying, or do you tell her it's from you and she's in denial? And OP replies, she doesn't believe me when I tell her. She acts like her father is an angel. Or she's getting at you on purpose to irritate you because unless she's somehow cognitively impaired, it makes zero sense. I fully agree that you shouldn't spend another dime, not the a-hole. Or her bio dad is telling her it's from him? Like, who is she gonna believe? Him or the stepdad that she hates? That's probably the case, given the bio dad didn't correct her when she called to thank him. Not the a-hole. Make sure she has clothes, food, and housing. The clothes don't have to be expensive. Extras, well, her father can buy those, or her mother. Maybe she'll see that her father isn't the person she thinks he is. They really don't. I shop at Walmart and love their clothing section. I mean, it's not the only place I shop, but it's the cheapest. But her mother is doing nothing to alleviate his discomfort. Take the phone back because it's not a need, and let her father pay for her once, not the a-hole. I don't understand how people are calling phones not a need in this day and age. It would be cruel to take her phone off of her, and I disagree with that. And Silius Sodus says, not the a-hole, but it's not going to help anything. Your first problem is with your wife, not your daughter. You both need to present a unified front for discipline and how you represent reality to her. You say you tried counseling and therapy, but it's only effective for a couple of days? This is not how therapy works. She needs to be going regularly for a long time. Yes, exactly. If it works for only a couple days, then send her 2 to 3 times a week. She clearly needs a ton of help. Also, explain to her the reason you will no longer be giving anything to her. You need to tell her with her mother on the same page and in the conversation as well, but not talking over you, that you have bought her all the gifts and that while you're happy that she's close to her bio father, he did not buy those things for her. If she refuses to thank the right person, then she will not be getting any more gifts. She seems really troubled and in denial. If her father is as bad as you say, then you and her mother are her only hope. If you want to be her father and make that connection, you really need to communicate with her and help her. If she has a hard time communicating, ask her therapist to talk with her about possibly letting them speak for her to you or her mother about how you can help her. And Broad Elderberry says, quote, I know she's just a child, but it still gets to me. You're the a-hole right there. You're a friggin' adult. Taking anything a hormonal teenager says seriously is a rookie mistake. Quote, A believes her dad buys all the things she gets, her birthday presents, toys, clothes, etc. Okay, so either she's delusional and needs help, or her dad is lying to her, and that needs to be addressed. Quote, she isn't rude to me, she's rude to everyone, like her mum or the neighbor, or just people that bump into her. So she's a typical teenager. Add in that her biological father is a deadbeat druggie, this is basically par for the course. Quote, my wife has tried counseling and therapy, but it's only effective for a couple of days before she snaps. So you aren't following through on counseling. Quote, I told my wife that I won't be paying for anything. That's neglect? You don't have to like her, but as an adult in charge of her care, it is your responsibility to provide for her needs. Yeah. You're the a-hole. Try a couple of child developmental textbooks. This is all stereotypical stuff. I am continuously floored by the number of adults who come to this sub because a teen in their life is acting crappy, and rather than consider how to address the teen's behavior and needs, they just want permission to sink to the level of a moody teen who may or may not have experienced some serious hardship. Like, be a effing grown-up, dude. You don't have to buy her every luxury, but you do need to model respect and you need to meet her basic needs. I'm also floored by the number of adults who think that a kid should automatically be giving them respect just because they're an adult. Kids, especially teenagers, will look for any excuse to not respect someone, lol. And our next post is by user Whiteboard Throwaway, titled, "Am I the a-hole for taking away a student's whiteboard?" So I'm a substitute teacher. I've been subbing in a 4th grade classroom of 9 to 10-year-olds all month. There's a little girl in the class, Taylor, who has selective mutism. She doesn't speak and uses a whiteboard to communicate in class. Taylor is a smart girl, but she's constantly using her whiteboard to talk to her friends in class and drawing when she's supposed to be doing her work. Taylor was extremely distracted today and wouldn't stop talking to her friends in class. So, after telling her to put the whiteboard down for the 50th time, I took the whiteboard away. Taylor started crying, packed her backpack, went to the office, and went home for the day, and I got an email from her mum chewing me out for taking away Taylor's only method of communication. I tried explaining that Taylor kept using it to talk to her friends in class, but she said that it didn't matter, and I still have no right to take it from her. I told my husband about it, and he said that while it's understandable that I was frustrated, I shouldn't have taken the whiteboard. So I wanted to see if I was the a-hole. Not gonna lie, that is really cruel, and I can't believe you did it. And her reaction to this speaks volumes about the impact your actions have had on her. You obviously don't understand how to deal with kids with disabilities, especially selective mutism, and you've shown this through your actions here. Yes, you gave her so many warnings, and yes, it was annoying to have to deal with that, but there are other strategies in dealing with kids in classrooms that are talking. This one was especially cruel, and I don't agree with your actions in this situation. I think you're a bad person for doing it. I think it was a mistake, and I think you're going to learn from this, but this was still the wrong thing to do. You're the a-hole. Now, in the comments, Giacomo Hawkins says, "You're the a-hole. You are well aware that the whiteboard is your student's primary mode of communication. By way of analogy, what do you do with other students who are talking in class? Tape their mouths shut? Taking away a whiteboard may seem at the surface to be like taking away a cell phone from a student who keeps texting during class, but to mute your student, it is so much more. Thank you for putting this into words. I immediately realized this is the child's only method of communication, but couldn't think of anything equivalent that she might do to a speaking child. Sounds like this teacher would benefit from classroom management lessons. She's not a teacher. She's a sub. All she's required by most laws is a bachelor's degree. Chances are she's never had any real classes on how to teach and deal with students. Otherwise, she would have just moved the student to another seat. But no, she had to be an abusive ass. Powersmith says, "You're the a-hole. 1. If this is an IEP accommodation, then it's protected by the IDEA law. In that case, her parents can sue the school district and win. I don't know if they can sue you personally, but the district is now in legal jeopardy. 2. If she has no IEP, this was a really impulsive and poor way to handle her behavior. You should handle it the same way you handle a speaking child if they keep chatting. Like sending them to sit alone somewhere in the room is what I would think of first. You're the a-hole. If a student doesn't stop talking in class, do you cut out their tongue to force them to stop talking? No. So don't do that to her. Find another way to enforce the rules. Send the kid to the principal or give her a punishment just like any other chatty kid. You're the a-hole." And our next post is by user AnxiousAd1200, titled, "Am I the a-hole for telling the truth about why I wasn't at a family baby shower at a family dinner?" Let's make this quick. I, 23 female, was at a dinner with my dad, stepmom, step-siblings, and my stepmom's parents. Last month was my stepbrother's wife's baby shower for the first child. I was invited by my parents as they were hosting, but did not attend. The reason I did not attend is I have attended stuff for my step-siblings before, and it's always painfully clear that I'm not a part of their sibling group. I don't get included in siblings' pictures. They hardly speak to me, and when I try to engage with them, they move away as fast as humanly possible. They've told me before they tolerate me, but I'm not their sister, and I don't belong among them. My stepmom and dad know this. My stepmom was very tough on them for that when we were kids, and I think they thought family therapy and time would help. And honestly, I secretly hoped so too, since I grew up with them and always felt like an only child living with a group of siblings. And I almost went to the baby shower, for the sake of civility. Only my stepbrother posted how he was excited for the first time with his siblings at the baby shower, how nice it would be for them to be together, and tagged both stepsisters and not me. And I thought, why show up for a baby shower for him and his wife when neither could care, and I'll just feel the sting of not being included. And don't get me wrong, it's their right to not feel the same about me. But I feel like it's my right to avoid that type of stuff when the guests of honor don't give a crap about me. So their grandma asked me at dinner why I wasn't there, and I decided to be honest. I said I wasn't there because I'm not close with my step-siblings, and it's been clear to me I'm not wanted by any of them. So I decided to do my own thing. My step-siblings were basically shrugging it off, and their grandparents were looking at them, and then my stepmom went off on them about it. Then they said that I was a child running to tell on them. My dad said I probably should have made up an excuse to save the argument. I don't know. Am I the a-hole? I guess this comes down to you causing a scene at dinner, but I think in this case it's good that you told the truth about why you weren't at the family baby shower. Yes, it did descend into chaos, and it might not be a great thing to say over dinner, but someone had to say it. Seems like this cat has been waiting a long time to come out of the bag, and you finally released it, really suddenly and out of nowhere at dinner. Your step-siblings obviously don't care, so it should have been left at that, but their grandparents and your stepmom went off on them about it. Maybe this could have been sorted behind the scenes, and you could have been like, yeah, I don't like you guys, don't invite me to anything in the future, I don't really want to be associated with you anymore, and obviously given their reaction here, that would have been fine. And your dad is kind of right in saying you should have made up an excuse to save the argument. I'd say that's person dependent, and maybe he thought that you were someone that would avoid conflict. And maybe that's true in most scenarios, but it's fine to not avoid the conflict here. They're dicks for saying that you're a child running to tell on them. Obviously not, you were just stating your feelings. It's their fault that this happened to them, and it's their fault the grandparents and stepmom went off on them about it. That's not your fault, you are not a child running to tell on them. I personally think you did the right thing in this situation, and I stand by your decision, not the a-hole. Now in the comments, Rocket Roulette says, not the a-hole. Honesty is the best policy sometimes. Amen. OP is definitely not the a-hole, but her step-siblings sure are. My heart is breaking for OP a little at the continued rejection, but I'm proud of them for standing up for themselves. At this point, they are all adults, and the only real a-hole is Mum for scolding her adult children for being how they've been for at least a decade it seems. There really is no reason for this to have been a big deal when everyone's positions have been known for years. OP was honest, but it's their mum that made it a fight. Then they said that I was a child running to tell on them, does make the step-siblings a-holes. OP didn't run to tell on them. She answered a question that was asked of her. Their mother yelled at them, and they decided to use a schoolyard insult at OP. Which is ironic because what grown-ass adult is still childish enough to use the "you told on me" complaint? That's strictly the realm of grade schoolers and below. In any case, if they're not ashamed of themselves or their relationship, they've got no business crying about OP telling the truth to an honest question. And also, "you told on me" clearly carries a message. I know my behavior is bad, but I hoped to get away with it. It's not, so what that I did this. Not the a-hole. Step-grandma asked a question, you answered honestly. Ask your father if he'd rather you outright lied to her in order to spare an argument because of the way that you've been treated all these years. Honestly, tell step-grandma that too. I'm sure she would love to know why only one parent ever tried to get them to bond. I'm thinking the stepmom probably tried to force bonding over the years, which backfired in her face. Relationships should not be forced, and this family paid the price unfortunately, especially for OP. Alright guys, that's the end of the video. Friendly reminder that I'm now posting daily on my second channel, Markee 2. If you want to laugh at memes with me, link is down in the description below. On phone, you just click that little arrow underneath the video. I also want to say thank you to all my channel members and Patreon subscribers. Your names are currently floating down the screen here, and I love to see all of you guys. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Thank you for supporting me. I really appreciate it. If you see yourself on screen, I want you to give yourself a big pat on the back for being amazing as always, and thank you for supporting me again. I do hope that you guys have a good day, night, sleep, whatever it is you're up to. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.